What is the two-up offer? How did I make £600 from 90 minutes of football? And what are 3 really good tips if you're going to start taking on the two-up offer? Hey guys, Mr. BetSmart here. Welcome back to another video on my channel where we're talking about the two-up offer, which is a really good advanced match betting reload offer that you can take on and make a good few extra quid every month. There are some people that are making thousands from this offer, so let's just dive into the video and start talking about the two-up offer. So firstly, what are two-up offers? Well, two-up offers are essentially a way of taking advantage of this bookmaker offer from Bet365 and Paddy Power. And the offer is this: when a team you bet on goes 2 goals ahead but ends up not winning the game, we essentially are going to make some really nice profits. So basically, Bet365 and Paddy Power will both pay you out if your team goes 2 goals ahead. So that can mean 2-0, 3-1, 4-2, it doesn't matter. As long as they go 2 goals ahead of the other team, then you'll be paid out early on Bet365 and Paddy Power. Now, if you followed my other videos and you understand a bit of match betting, then you will know what an exchange is and what a lay bet is. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to back teams on Bet365 and Paddy Power, and then we're going to lay them on an exchange like Smarkets or Matchbook or even Betfair Exchange, so that if the team that we bet on ends up going 2 goals ahead in Bet365 or Paddy Power and doesn't win the game, will essentially be paid out on the bookie and on the exchange for a really nice profit. That's what the two-up offer is. Now, just so we can scroll through the Bet365 terms, just to know a few more details. It's valid up until the 31st of December 2021. They usually just renew them every year, but just watch out that for in case they don't renew it. It's also only available on certain competitions, but it's most of the biggest ones, as you can see here: the Premier League, the Championship, League 1, League 2, most of Europe as well, and from the group stage onwards, Champions League, Europa League, etc. So that's what the two-up offer is, and that's the terms that we take on for the two-up offer. So in terms of actually finding these really close matches for the two-up offer, we use the filter on Profit Accumulators odds matching tool. Now the filter is here called Bet365 or Paddy Power 2-up. You can find this if you scroll right to the bottom of this box here, then it will show up here. So if I put Bet365 2-up in and hit refresh, then we will see all the closest matches on Bet365 and exchanges of possible two-ups that we can take on. Now, something else to note about the two-up offer is that it is a long-term offer. So we are going to be taking qualifying losses to essentially hold out for a big win when a team goes 2-up and then doesn't win the game. So you need to really be careful with managing your risk and making sure you're doing it for the long term. Because if you try and do this for 1, 2, 3 games for a quick buck, it's not going to work out for you unless you get very, very lucky. As soon as you take them in the long term, you're going to have higher expected value, and it's going to mean that you're more likely to make profits. So we're playing a long game here, and that's always something that's good to know with match betting with these sorts of offers, where they are low risk and you're going to potentially lose small amounts of money, but if a certain event happens, then you'll make really good profits. So there's not very good matches on at the moment. So we've got 95%, 94%, 93%, etc. So there's not the best matches, and the qualifying losses are relatively high. But say we took this City one on, that they're playing Chelsea in the Champions League. Say we took this one on, I'll walk you through how you would back and lay it and how to work out the calculators. So you click this calculator here, whatever your chosen stake is, let's say it's £100. You just leave it as normal and simple and put whatever your commission's in. You just do whatever the lay stake it gives you is, and this is basically going to lock in the most guaranteed outcome no matter what happens. So if City win or if City don't win, we're going to have a £5.13 loss, no matter what happens, which would be your qualifying loss. But if City end up going 2 goals ahead but don't win the game, then we're going to win our bookmaker bet and we're going to win our exchange bet. So we'll actually get a profit of around £190. A much better calculator for this, if you go up here in the 3 bars and you click on calculator and you click on advanced calculators, then there's the two-up calculator, which is good for calculating when there's early cash outs, which is another way of doing this offer, and yeah, it's just a little bit better to visualize all the odds and what's going on with the 2-up offer essentially. So if we take the same odds, 1.85, 1.95, 0% commission, we can see that it will give us the exact same lay stake as before with the exact same £5.13 qualifying loss. Now, to work out how much money you would make if there was a 2-up that happened in this game, then you would click the early selection triggered switch, and you would turn out the early payout lock-in active, and it would essentially show you how much you would make. So it would be £180 if City end up going 2 goals ahead but didn't win the game, but you would be taking a £5 qualifying loss. Now, what is the early cash out method? Now, this is where if your team goes 2 goals ahead, you may want to choose to cash out your exchange bet for a decent profit without hoping that the other team comes back into it to make the game a draw or make your team lose, because you know, these events don't happen as often, and you might get impatient and waiting for full turnarounds to happen. A full turnaround is essentially a team going 2 goals ahead and then not winning the game. So if we click the early payout lock-in active here, and then what you want to do is you want to head over to the Smarkets exchange, and that's what we're going to be cashing out the bet, because we already know that our bookie bet has won. So we need to know what the back odds are currently live in the game of the team that you put your lay bet on are. So say for example, if I go to the City-Chelsea game now, if we imagine I put my back bet on Manchester City on the bookie of Bet365, and I put a lay bet here of 1.95 against City, then essentially my lay bet is what we're going to be cashing out, because the back bet on the bookie has already won. So imagine this game is at half time and City are 2-1 ahead, but they went 2 goals ahead, and say the odds of them winning are say 1.6. If they were 2-1 ahead and the odds were around 1.6, let's say, it would be this box here, because that's what we're using to cash out. So you would take that 1.6 back odds, you'd put that into the cash out back odds box here, and then you would click early payout selection triggered. So this is the profit that you will then make if you cash out your lay bet at this point. Obviously the odds are going to be flicking around a lot because it's a live game, so you need to be careful if you do this option, because you need to be quite experienced with match betting and knowing what you're doing, because you don't want anyone losing lots of money in this game at all. So if we were to cash this out, it's telling us to place a £115.63 back bet with our exchange at the odds that we put in, and that would mean we'd lock in a £65 profit. Now, something else to mention in the exchange is that they do have the trade out button, which would usually be here. And if this is your only bet that you've put on this game on the exchange, then you can just hit the trade out button and it will calculate it all for you. But if you have had other bets on the same game, then you're going to be trading those out and you might be vulnerable. So you need to be careful when using the trade out button. But if it's your only bet on the game, then hit the trade out button and it will do all the work for you. And then you can just go over to the early payout calculator and work out what your profits were. So back in November, I placed 3 bets of these 2-up offers, and they were all at the same time back in November, and they were on Brackley Town, Portsmouth and Boreham Wood. I posted a TikTok about it, and essentially my qualifying losses on these was really, really good, and it meant that I actually had a £0 qualifying loss for all of these, because one of them I think had a £2.50 qualifying loss, and the other 2 had slightly arbs on them, which meant that it was actually a £0 qualifying loss overall. And in all of those games, Brackley went 2 goals ahead and didn't win the game. Boreham Wood went 2 goals ahead but didn't win the game. Portsmouth went 2 goals ahead, then were drawing 2-2. I cashed that one out, and then Portsmouth I think actually ended up winning it. But essentially I made £200 from each of these, and that's how I made the £600 in 90 minutes of football, which is an unbelievable feeling. But yes, that's how I made that £600. Now, some really good tips for 2-ups are the following. There are 3 really good tips. So number 1, you should hit the link in my bio, in my TikTok bio and in the description below, and you will be directed to where my Slink page is, and you can join our free Discord server. Now, people post 2-up alerts in here all the time. So here we've got this ARBS, you wouldn't have a single qualifying loss, and if Angers went 2-0 ahead and didn't win the game, you'd make so much money. Verona 12-12, Leicester really close there, etc, etc. And it's just a really good alert system that's completely free to tell you when there's good matches. People do it when they find good matches, and it's just to basically give back if they've got any value from the server. So it's a really good system, and yeah, it's a great place to get these sort of alerts straight to your phone as well if you download the app. Another really good thing I would recommend is coming to the pinned messages chat on the 2ups chat. And essentially, one of our members, Buckley, put in some really useful information and a tracker that went through and researched loads of old odds for 2-up matches and how often they occurred for the types of odds that they took on. And it's a really good read, and it will get you in a good mindset of what matches to take on and what actually has the highest value. So if you scroll down, then all of the information is there that he found out with his research, and it's a really interesting read to see what has the most value and what actually you should be taking on in the long run for more value. And yeah, that is the name of the game that we're always looking for here, is the highest value and the highest implied odds, because the highest implied odds show us whether we're taking value from the bookie or whether the bookie's taking value back from us. One final thing I would say for 2ups is to track them and make sure you stick to your own system. And this will mean that in the long run, if you stay consistent, then you will see some good profits. And make sure it's a system that actually you are taking value off of the bookies. So essentially, go for certain implied odds. Say if you're going for implied odds of 100 or over, then you need to be making sure that your qualifying losses match your implied odds, and that you are actually taking value in the long run. Because as soon as you start taking, say, 10, 20, 30, 40 of these every week or every couple weeks, and you start to see a sample set of a couple hundred, then you're going to be starting to see some really good profits. And yeah, it's a really good offer to take on. You just got to stay consistent with it, and you can see thousands and thousands of pounds of profit with it. Also, when I talk about the early payout method compared to the leaving it to see if there's a full turnaround, I prefer just leaving the game to see if there's an FTA, because it's similar value in the long run, and it actually is just way less stress checking all the results all the time, depending on what you're doing in the day. And if it's similar value, I don't see the need in having to check them all the time to do some crazy early payout when it might not be actually on as well. And it just makes you it kind of tricks you into trying to guess what's happening in the game. And as soon as you start doing that, then you're essentially putting yourself back into the hands of the bookies a little bit, because you might guess a couple of them, badly, where you cash out where there's actually been a 2-up that's occurred, and then you don't do it when there's not been a 2-up. And if you just leave it, then I think it just saves you a lot of stress and a lot of time. So yeah, that's what I personally do. You can do the early payout if you want profits more in the shorter term, but your value is going to be pretty similar, if not slightly lower, by doing in the short term, and rather than just leaving it for full turnarounds in the long run. So that's my advice on it, and yeah, you can crack on with it however you want to. But yeah, that's essentially how you do the 2-up offer. That's how I made £600 in 90 minutes from a certain example back in November, and there's a few tips on 2-ups as well. And there we have it. That is everything you need to know about the 2-up offer to get started and get cracking on with it. If there's anything you didn't understand in the video about match betting, then you should check out the earlier videos where I talk about the basics of match betting, and you should get started with the £45 free profit trial with Profit Accumulator, where you can make £45 from 2 sign-up offers. This is an advanced match betting reload offer which you should be taking on after you've done all the sign-up offers and you've done lots of basic reload offers. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it gave you some good value, and I'd love to see you in the next video. If you chuck a subscribe down below and a like if you found any of this information interesting and relevant. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video.